And I tell you, if we are to tame darkness, we must first face that it exists. Meine Herren, we are here encountering the undead plague carrier, the vampire, Nosferatu.
Back in October, we did an entire month of vampire movies, starting with the 1922 F.W. Murnau silent expressionist film, Nosferatu, a symphony of horror, an unlicensed German adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula that was almost destroyed in a famous lawsuit from Bram Stoker's estate. You could think of tonight's episode as a coda to that month of movies, because we're talking about Robert Eggers' new gothic horror remake, Nosferatu.
It is a black omen to journey in poor health. You will remain and well rest yourself.
I must object, my lord.
You will obey.
Starring Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, Willem Dafoe, Emma Corrin, Ralph Ineson, and of course, Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok. Robert Eggers has now created a solid niche for himself. Born in New York City to a single mother, they soon moved to Wyoming, where she met and married Walter Edgars, an English literature professor, who soon got a job teaching at the University of New Hampshire, and they all moved to Lee, New Hampshire, where Robert spent the rest of his childhood. Living in New England, around all the history and culture that evolved from the Puritans, inspired Eggers' brand of folk horror. It usually combines mythology and folk tales with modern aesthetics and horror movie themes. Eggers would often hang out at the Plymouth Plantation and became really interested in witches with Salem nearby. Eggers' first films were shorts, including a short version of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart and Hansel and Gretel, starring his mom as the witch. Starting with his directorial debut, The Witch, in 2015, which takes place in the 1630s and shows a Puritan family banished over a religious dispute, who get harassed and picked off by evil forces who surround their small, secluded farm.
Black Philip, Prager's out his head! Black Philip, to Nanny Queen is wed! Just to the fence, past run!
Jonas, Mercy, come hither!
This film introduced a teenage Anya Taylor-Joy in her feature film debut, although Eggers had to film in Ontario rather than New England because he needed the tax incentive. He got the production team to consult with agricultural experts and museums in America and England to make the film as historically accurate as possible, as well as a carpenter and a thatcher with 1600s building experience. Next, after several failed pitches, Robert Eggers made a more conventional movie by his own reckoning. He adapted Edgar Allan Poe's unfinished story, The Lighthouse, with his younger brother, Max. The last story most likely that Poe ever wrote before his mysterious death in 1849. A story of isolation and alienation turned into a film where Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson are trapped together working at a New England lighthouse in the 1890s. The elements of the Poe story that Max had on the page were removed, and it becomes a deeply psychologically unsettling character study of isolation turning into madness.
I seen you sparring with a gull. Best leave him be. Bad luck to kill a seabird.
More tall tales.
Bad luck to kill a seabird.
Eggers' next film was by far his most sweeping, at least before Nosferatu. He wanted to work with Alexander Skarsgård, who wanted to do a film about Vikings. Working with the Icelandic poet and Björk collaborator, Sjöun, they adapted the ancient Scandinavian story of Amaleth. Originally written down by Saxo Grammaticus, the medieval Danish historian, it was discovered by a young Shakespeare who turned it into Hamlet. However, capitalizing on Alexander Skarsgård and his physique, Eggers turned it into a historical action movie and was inspired by Conan the Barbarian.
Why would he stow away to such a hellish place? This ground harbors evil.
My fate has brought me here to find what was stolen from me.
This was The Northman, which Eggers considered his real learning experience, going from lower budget, small scale productions to to the big sweeping epic gave Eggers the confidence to go even bigger with Nosferatu.
I saw a picture of Max Schreck in a book about vampires in the school library, and then my mom helped me track down a VHS, and I was just utterly mesmerized, like initially by Max Schreck's performance and this iconic makeup design that he designed himself. He just seemed like a vampire, and it felt real.
He had wanted to remake Nosferatu ever since The Witch, but felt like doing it as a second film without much experience would have been disrespectful. This gave him 8 years to figure out how exactly to adapt it, how to add to it, and how to make the unofficial Dracula adaptation work for the 21st century.
Something about the Murnau adaptation is just a simple fairy tale, and I actually think that simple fairy tale that is at the core of the Stoker novel is the thing that has made it like so adaptable and so versatile and kept people so inspired over the past century. And something that I really loved about the Murnau film is that, you know, it ends with the female protagonist being the heroine, and I thought that it would be like potentially more exciting if you know the whole film is told through her eyes, because it had the potential to be more like emotionally and psychologically complex than an adventure story about a real estate agent.
Inspired by other films like the Andrzej Zawadzki films The Devil, The Third Part of the Night, and Possession, as well as the Herzog remake of Nosferatu, although smartly, Eggers returns the vampire to being Count Orlok, whereas Herzog tried to name him Dracula. Rather than making Orlok, who is played by a prosthesis-covered Bill Skarsgård, who is practically unrecognizable, look like Count Orlok in the original Nosferatu, the look is far more inspired by the real Vlad the Impaler, mustache and all. And Orlok speaks the extinct but reconstructed Dacian language, which would have been spoken in ancient Romania. The film was shot in Transylvania and in Prague. Orlok's castle is the Corvin Castle, one of the largest in Europe, where Vlad the Impaler is said to have been held prisoner. The city scenes, as the city of Visborg, where Nosferatu takes place, is fictional, are in Prague, including at the Barrandov Studios, for all the interior shots. They also filmed Ravenous, as well as Amadeus, Casino Royale, Mission Impossible, and parts of Jojo Rabbit and Snowpiercer, among many other films. Robert Eggers chooses to lean into the German expressionist elements of the original 1922 Nosferatu, covering the screen with shadow. Eggers' Nosferatu is even less horror in the classic movie sense, although there are some crazy jump scares, than it is a gothic romance. We are haunted as an audience and feel the dread and fear through the screen. The aesthetic power of the film reinforces that, as does the fact that Eggers chose some actors and actresses with genuinely expressive facial features like the old silent film stars used to have. Lily Rose Depp, who plays Ellen Hunter and is Johnny Depp's daughter, and has even more expression in her face than he was able to convey in Edward Scissorhands.
Come to me. Come to me. A guardian angel. A spirit of comfort.
Doing a performance that takes inspiration from Isabelle Adjani in Possession in a legitimately crazy way. Adjani was also the Ellen Hunter character Lucy in Herzog's Nosferatu. All these actors have large eyes, melancholy faces, and the rare ability to wordlessly project multi-layered emotions that I feel like we lost after silent films. And the surrealistic power of dreams caught with these characters in between being awake and asleep, often not even knowing which. Orlok haunts the dreams of his victims. Willem Dafoe plays Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz, the Van Helsing character. It's been brought up a lot, but he was also in the film Shadow of the Vampire, which satirizes the making of the original Nosferatu. In Shadow of the Vampire, he played Max Schreck, who played the original Orlok, but in the movie, he's also an actual vampire. In a way, this is his own version of Full Circle. Eggers also used 5,000 live, trained rat actors and real wolves who chased Nicholas Holt's carriage. The film is truly haunting, eerie, mysterious, and aesthetically unsettling, building on the 1922 and 1977 versions of Nosferatu, using the technology and skills we've developed in filmmaking to build on it. It's not just haunting, but sexually charged, getting to the heart of what has been so terrifying about the vampire, preying on us at our most vulnerable, whether that's as we sleep or in our most intimate moments.
Standing before me, all in black, was death. But I was so happy. So very happy.